Our scripture for this evening, John chapter 16, verse 24. John chapter 16 and verse 24. There the Bible reads, "Hitherto have you asked nothing in my name. Ask, and you shall receive, that your joy may be full." I want to focus on the last part of the verse, that your joy may be full. We do not have a gauge to determine how much joy we have. On a car, for example, we can look at our gas hand and see if there's a quarter tank of gas, half a tank, or full tank, or somewhere in between. How do we really gauge our joy? More importantly, we want to discover why it is we don't have as much joy as we'd like to have when Jesus says that he wants our joy to be full. And then he says all we have to do is ask. Certainly, there are many times in which we ask Jesus to fill us, and we have not received that filling as desired. Is the problem on the part of the asking, or is it what we're asking, or maybe something altogether different? Absolutely, we need to seek God for the joy that we desire. God has a way of doing what we cannot do, and what's beyond our intellect, our resources, and our ability to accomplish on our own. There are perhaps some things that we need to consider that may be interrupting the joy that we desire. Maybe we are being filled with joy, but are losing it in some aspect of our vessels. Sometimes we can have a leak in our vessel that may be taking from us the feeling of joy that Jesus is pouring into us. Let's look at 7 things quickly that will help us to better recognize why we may not always have the amount of joy that we like to have. Number 1, we can easily take time for granted. Do you recognize that this is the only life we get? We cannot hit the reset button. If you are waiting for some future advent to make you joyous, you might as well take advantage of the time that you have now, because tomorrow is not promised. Delayed joy may be denied joy. Second, not knowing that you can be and should be happy. Sometimes people have been beat up by life and beat down by people. The circumstances of their existence can overwhelm them to the extent that they may feel as if they just cannot be happy, or maybe they deserve their misery. You need to know that you are a child of God, and God has called you to a life of peace. How can God want you to have peace and you can't have joy? Peace and joy are inseparable. A joyous person is a peaceful person, and a peaceful person is a joyous person. So understand that you deserve to be happy. Third, we can miss joy by holding on to burdens. There are times that we need to let go of things, and maybe even need to let go of some people. We can have toxic people and toxic things in our lives, and holding on to those toxic things can prove explosive and can prove damaging in our ability to have joy. Number 4, sometimes we don't have joy because we're not courageous enough to reach our blessings. It's one thing to hold on to burdens, but are you failing to reach your blessings because of a lack of courage? A person who does not have courage will stay stuck in neutral, not going anywhere, will certainly not allow you to accomplish anything. Sometimes the joy that we get to experience comes from knowing that we stepped out on faith, we tried, we made an effort. And even when we don't accomplish what we had intended to accomplish, sometimes you just feel better about yourself knowing that you tried. Number 5, we can miss having joy when we are envious and jealous of other people. However, God has seen fit to bless someone else, be happy for them, and be genuinely happy for them. One of the things that we have to remember is that the economy of heaven is not bankrupt. The budget of God's blessings is not out of line. And God, who has blessed someone else, has plenty, and He has enough to bless you. And we must always remember that what God has blessed someone else with, even if we could take it, it would not do us any good, because blessings are custom made and are tailored for the individual to whom God is determined to bless. Number 6, sometimes we miss our joy because we're focusing on the past and ignoring the future. Whatever your past is, good, bad, or indifferent, let it go. Reach to your future and see that you can never experience a full cup of joy when you're pouring it out on a past that can never be relived. And number 7, and this is a big one that I find many people are guilty of, and that is you can never have a full cup of joy when you're requiring others to make you happy. You have to be happy with you, and you have to love you. Jesus says He wants us to have joy, and He wants it to be full. Self-examine, look at some of these thoughts, and maybe you can fill up on some joy, or maybe you can stop the leak in your vessel that's keeping you from having that full cup of joy. This has been another installment of A Few Minutes with the Minister.